Welcome to Break the Cypher, a podcast about cannabis industry and the information you're not getting. I'm your host, Mike Grady, here with co-host Emerson Kovacs.
Hello, hello.
What is up, man? How you doing today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good. I'm happy to be on the pod.
I know, right? It's kind of weird. It's like recording our voices, our faces. I feel so exposed.
We're really out here. Yeah, we're getting all the exposure.
Yeah. Well, many of you do not know Emerson or I, so we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We're all the way down here in Norwood, Colorado. If you don't know where that is, it is in Southwest Colorado. So if you get a map, you find Telluride, you find Durango, you look around a little bit, and then you'll have an idea of where we're at. So that being said, Emerson, what's up? Where are you from? Who are you?
Who am I? I am Emerson from Wisconsin, all the way up north. Got myself down here into Southwest Colorado for a little business and just didn't look back.
Yeah, that's how a lot of us get here, actually. You know, we're like living out west or out east and need a break from the cities or from the ocean or whatever it may be for a second and find our ways to the mountains to become ski bums.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to that life.
Yeah. I've been here. I moved out to Telluride originally from Chicago. So I was living out in Chicago, probably like 22 years old. Moved to Telluride, did the ski bum thing for a bit, and just fell in love with the place and never ended up going back. I started a pot company in 2009 called Alpine Wellness. It's a dispensary in Telluride and as well as Norwood now. So we have two dispensaries and we have a farm where we do growing and cultivation. And so we've been going since 2009, believe it or not. You know, we started a long time ago before it was all structured like it is and before everyone was excited about it, you know. And so that's kind of cool. I bring a little bit of experience to the table. I've been participating in the industry for about 15 years now. And yeah, life is good. I dig it. And I'm excited to be here chatting with everybody about it because there's so many ins and outs of the cannabis industry. And I'm not sure if I'm excited or anxious. And I feel like you guys probably feel the same way. So, you know, without further ado, I think we'll crack into this bad boy. We want to start off with talking about Kamala Harris. It seems to be a hot topic out there. I don't really have a ton of time that I spend with the news or on the news feeds. I'm afraid to click shit because the algorithm's going to get me. Emerson here is a little more brave than I. And he was showing me some stuff about this Kamala Harris stuff. So it sounds like we are on our way to potential federal legalization. Am I right?
You are indeed correct. Yes. Breaking news that Kamala did say she will legalize recreational marijuana if elected, which is pretty substantial as far as a stance goes. It's been quiet, that hasn't been on the docket. There hasn't been much discussion about it. And I think that it's something that needs to be spoken on. And the fact that she's willing to go out and just flat out legalize recreational, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what does that mean? Is she like saying she's going to open up like interstate commerce, or is she like saying you can't get arrested for it, or is she just going to be like, all right, United States cannabis industry is now taking off, and we can open up stores and we can have distribution companies and logistic, like, I don't know what she's saying. Is there any info on that?
Yeah, that's a great point. There is not any info right now, except the fact that it would be legalized recreationally. And beyond that, logistically, not much given.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's always an interesting thing because they're like, we're going to legalize this recreationally. And does that mean that the federal government is getting behind cultivation facilities and weed stores and all that jazz. Because, I mean, honestly, I think they need to. I mean, this shit has been going on for 15 years. You know, I'm 39 years old, started the company when I was 24. And we've been waiting for the federal government for that amount of time. And so now there's all this talk. There's like the rescheduling from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 that happened before Kamala Harris's statements. And now we're talking about federal legalization, which I think there's going to be a lot of good things about that and a lot of bad things about that. A lot of the bad things, I feel like, you know, Kamala Harris needs to know about first, like what's going wrong in the states that have legal cannabis, because I feel like there's a lot going wrong and we don't really find out about that very much. And, you know, I feel like everyone's really excited. Like they see those words, recreational cannabis is going to legalize. And in my head, I'm like, okay, that's a good thing. The alternative sucks. That just means we keep existing how we are. But, you know, what does that mean? Are we gonna be paying more taxes on it? Are we going to be, you know, regulated by the DEA, the ATF? I mean, this industry is just getting destroyed by regulations and red tape and taxes. I feel like I've talked about the taxes before, and I'll probably talk about this in every episode because the taxes need to change. And so, you know, I kind of want to talk to Kamala Harris, you know. What you think, man?
I think that you should give her a call. Get in touch with her people, because there isn't any info currently. There isn't any plan. It's just kind of one of those buzzwords to create excitement, which I think is a step in the right direction, but without further instruction, without further explanation, it does seem like it's just kind of a moonshot of an idea.
Totally. Is there any word from the Donald on the issue, or?
I do not think that Donald has voiced any opinion or spoken out about marijuana, to my recollection. Could be wrong, but as far as I know, radio silence on that end.
I mean, I don't see why he would be against it. I mean, the fact is that this industry is just like existing in the shadows. I oftentimes joke that like Amazon.com is our biggest supplier. All of us are ordering off Amazon, receipt paper, label paper, printer paper, rolling paper, all sorts of paper coming off Amazon. And it's just like we're existing. Nobody's talking about the fact that we are here, what industries we are already supporting in the ancillary type arena, like CPAs, lawyers, all sorts of consultants, things like that. And so it would be really nice if both presidential candidates had some sort of statement about it. And furthermore, it would be nice if they wanted to talk to us, because some of us have been doing this for 15 years. You know, Colorado was like, first state to have recreational cannabis in 2014? Before that, we were medical from 2009 to 2013. Went through all those transitions, had to learn how to grow, had to learn all this stuff. And so I feel like when I watch TV, many of you will probably agree with this, but I see these like politicians on TV talking about the cannabis industry. For us in Colorado, that's Polis, Governor Polis. He gets up, he talks about how good it's going, the success, the tax revenue, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like all of us business owners are like, yeah, good for you. You just took all of our operating margin with your sales tax and with your licensing fees and with your excise tax. And I know that at first the cannabis industry was like the golden goose in everybody's minds. But it turns out that it is not really that way. And a lot of these politicians need to get real in the sense that in states that they have legal cannabis, that they are writing policy for and regulating, they're kind of suffocating the businesses, especially the small ones. Our business, I feel like we are oftentimes operating on a 3% operating margin, which is knuckin' futz. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Knuckin' futz. So,
oh, man, that doesn't even seem like feasible.
well, I better cool my jets. You guys get me going on the tax thing. I get all fired up, so I apologize. I won't let it happen again until the next episode. But yeah. So anything else going on in cannabis news right now that you know of?
In cannabis news, still exploring, still learning, excited to be a part of the story though. I'll tell you that, because I enjoy the use of cannabis. I think that, as most Americans do, feel it should be legalized and have recreational uses, but in what capacity, no politician has really laid out a clear plan.
Yeah, totally. And it needs to be like a plan for success, right? Like the cannabis industry is generating all this revenue from people who like smoking the reefer, right? We always knew that marijuana should be regulated. It should be taxed. We should use the money for good things, right? But in the process, we can't be shutting down all of our businesses because they can't survive. And oftentimes I'm sending the government a check for more money than we have in the bank account, which some of you are thinking like, whoa, that's poor finance management. Well, I could tell you more about it later, but we're pretty bare bones. We're just dealing with the overhead that we have. And so it would be nice to see, like, if a politician is going to go to bat, if Kamala Harris is going to go to bat for the cannabis industry, it would be nice to see her take it seriously. Maybe interview some of the cannabis industry, people like us. We're willing to talk. We're willing to point you in the right direction so that the industry may be pointed in the right direction. Because the truth is you can do a lot of good things with it. People can use it to heal. People can use it to stop drinking, better sleep. The money that comes in from the sale of it can be directed in the right ways that many of us who are in the cannabis industry would agree with. It's like, I feel like cannabis has always had that, like, pass it to the left type thing about it. It's like sharing, and that's why I think there's a lot of like philanthropic models that could be born from it. Like, I think cannabis business owners want to support good organizations and good people. They just don't really have that much money left at the end of the day at this point, I think. So, but yeah.
What I've seen just in this community here in Southwest Colorado is, like you're talking to, the communal aspects of it, where, you're a part of the community, you're helping the community, like you said, heal, relax, succeed, really. I think that it's such a powerful tool to be able to utilize in a free and recreational manner, where you don't have to be paranoid, you don't have to be always on edge and looking over your shoulder or anything like that. It should be something that is just openly accepted. And so that's been a big change for me coming out to Colorado, is just seeing how openly accepted it is in public discourse, in public activities, and communal spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. I remember I used to like go, like, when I first moved to Telluride, like the winter season is like November through April. And then in April, I used to go back to Chicago to work. And even back then, this was like back in the day where Colorado is just decriminalized. So I moved from a place where, like, you got caught smoking weed, you got arrested in 2009, 2008. And then I moved to Telluride and like went and bought weed for the first time, from a dude, and all the weed had names. I was blown away. I was like, wait a minute. So there's like 4 different types I can choose from right now. How ridiculous. In Chicago, it's just like you kind of get what you get. I think we all kind of remember those days. But yeah, I remember going back. It was during off season in Telluride. I went back to Chicago and I was smoking some weed in a bush. All of a sudden, I was like hiding. I was at some frisbee golf course, like hiding in a bush, smoking Rhino Wreck.
Rhino Wreck.
Yep, guarantee. And there's some people that were with me that can validate, but yeah, that was the name of the strain. It was a white Rhino and train wreck. And it stunk. It was so good. It was so good. And I was like,
bush was danked out.
Dude. Yeah, and then the rest of my vibe was totally squashed after that because I was like the dude coming out of a bush, high as balls. And but yeah, totally different like vibe between a place like Chicago and a place like Colorado. It's nice to kind of see it coming back together, like now, like all this time at the weed shop and stuff and Telluride. I feel like it's really nice to see that, adults can come in and they're just adults making an adult decision. They want to like smoke a little weed on their ski trip or whatever. It's just like not a big deal anymore. It was a huge deal like 2009 through 2014, but now it's like very normalized. There's not like a ton of people coming in that have never been to a marijuana dispensary before. And so it's kind of cool. And it's kind of cool to see like all the reefer madness didn't happen. You remember that?
Yeah. I was just thinking that too, is whereas people thought, oh, shit's going to go off the walls. Like people are going to abuse it, right, quote unquote. No, none of that happened. I don't think anything outlandish or extremely serious in that regard ever happened. I think it's always been a fear-mongering tactic. Whereas that's dissipated now as states realize, wow, we can make a lot of tax money on this. Mm-hmm. We should probably lean into it. And, as you could see, a lot of states are becoming decriminalized, recreational, not just for medical use. And you have to wonder, is that just a tax play for these states?
Mm-hmm. And dude, that is what I'm concerned with, because like the general population right now, they see this post from Kamala or they see something from Trump, which I just came across an article that like clarifies one of my questions from earlier. And did I lose it? Anyways, it was from Weed News. Mm-hmm. I'm on the X. And it said that both presidential candidates have talked about supporting marijuana regulation. And I think that makes the general public very excited. And they should be. But we have to get a handle on this whole tax thing. Did I tell you this? I mean, I'm sure I've told you this before because I like to bring it up. But 2022, Colorado did like 1.3 billion in alcohol revenue, and that yielded 59 million in tax revenue. Okay, let's go to marijuana. 2022, Colorado, we did $880 million in revenue, paid $285 million in taxes. 5 motherfucking times the amount of alcohol, and we made less revenue. And so that is ass backwards. Like the cannabis industry isn't here to like pull up the rest of the economy. Like we are providing jobs. We are providing revenue to ancillary services. But we are getting destroyed on the tax level. And they don't even, like our tax money, they don't ever talk about where that money's going. Like we know some of it goes to the BEST grant in Colorado, which is awesome. It goes to public schools and making them better. That's really cool. I'd like to get more news updates about those schools and the improvements. And I think every cannabis business owner would, because it makes us feel better about sending all that tax money out. I mean, I just sent a tax check out last month for 20 grand for 1 month of sales.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a 20% tax. So you guys do the math. And we're all competing on like out the door pricing. So if you're buying a quarter for $50, but it really, ends up being 60, then it's a $60 quarter, right? And the guy down the street's just selling $50 quarters out the door, right? That's out the door pricing. And so to sell a $50 quarter, it's $40 and change plus tax. So when we talk about it, we have to talk about it in the sense that it needs to be set up for survival. And right now in Colorado, I don't think we're a very good example. I see weed businesses closing down all the time. And we got to do something about that, And I feel like if you're in a state where cannabis regulation was just adopted or implemented, you probably experienced a couple things. You probably had to pay exorbitant licensing fees. You probably have to charge your customer exorbitant amounts of taxes. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we're talking about some flower that's grown on a plant, and we're kind of, extorting it. Yeah. And if the federal government gets involved and they just continue that, then this is a dead end street. Like, this is just like a way for corporate America to take over something that could really help a lot of the lower middle class, however you look at it, But if the billionaires are about to come in and all the major venture capital and all the blah, 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 it's just going to kind of squash everybody out. Like Walmart can operate on a 3% operating margin. And we're not Walmart, There's like 3% operating margin would be like, whatever, $5,000 a year. And so that's about what we're dealing with right now. And I feel like I know a lot of cannabis business owners that are like, I don't have any money left at the end of every month or every year, or like, is this ever going to give, And so I think we got to pay attention to that. So it's like, you could say whatever you want. Kamala or Trump, you can say we're going to do legal weed. But it doesn't really matter unless we're going to do it right. And so I would just say, again, I would invite those two to meet with us. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree holistically. I think that it's overlooked the amount of effort, time, patience, care that these owners are putting into their business. Just looking at, I took a trip to New York City and I couldn't believe these pot shops that are just glass enclosures and just overdoing it like they're selling some sort of high-end luxury handbag. I was like, these people have never even been a part of the industry. They just came in with a bunch of money, realized that, hey, we could break into this new pot industry that's a potential gold mine and run off like madmen with the profits. But the thing is it wasn't even a great experience going in there and just feeling like this artificial light and artificial bud that's just, grown and contorted to have the most THC. It didn't have the heart or soul that I see in a lot of these small shops that are fighting to survive and that are putting out really quality product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've spent very little time going into other dispensaries, but this over the last 15 years, I think I've been in like one other dispensary other than ours, because a lot of them are like, they're pretty intense. I mean, like bulletproof glass, security guards. I feel like, you're about to get frisked at the door. It's like so weird feeling, like there's got to be security guards and bulletproof glass and stuff because there's so much valuable stuff. Unlike jewelry stores, right? Like jewelry stores, they just have gold and diamonds and stuff, and they don't have these regulations. Like, it's super expensive to hire a security company, And then you go into these places too, and I like how you mentioned those like sterile lighting. A lot of times it's like a little bit too nice, right? Like I feel like I'm in the Apple store right now. Have you seen the Apple store place? It's like, what happened to the pot culture, folks? Like Apple store, like, come on. It's like a little, to each their own, customers can go to places that suit their vibes and stuff. And I think that's really cool about it. Like there's like a little bit for everybody. But I'm like overall, I'm excited to see the industry grow. I think we got to focus on the the hard facts that like this is not working how we want it to work. Nobody wants to spend $100,000 on a license just so they can like be enslaved by the government for the rest of their life. And so, I mean, facts. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's expensive to have one of these things right now. Most people can't even find their way in. And once they're in, you know, the customer is like, what, paying 60, 70 bucks for an eighth in Illinois right now, or New York. I hear about Illinois and New York all the time because people are like, you know, in disbelief that they can get a $25 eighth at our store in Colorado, which is like the highest that we can really compete on for an eighth. Like, people don't want to spend that much more. And if you don't know what an eighth is, that's 3.5 grams, you know? And so we sell that for 25 bucks out the door, $20.60 plus tax. And then you get people from New York and they're like, oh my God, this costs $70. And guess what? It's cheaper on the black market, you know? So people in New York are like, yeah, it was going to the dispensary and stuff, but it's so much cheaper to just buy it on the street. And I'm like, yeah, that's because of the taxes. That's because of the licensing fees and the fact that you got to have, you know, Brenda and Bruce Security LLC there 24 hours a day guarding this, like, you know, majestic herb that like everybody wants and nobody can have. Like, dude, people aren't trying to rob these places. I mean, like, you rob a bunch of weed, you're going to smell like you robbed a bunch of weed. You know, it's like hard to get away with. Like, how much can you fit into your Corolla? That's a great place to start, you know, and then it's like, now you smell like fucking sticky, icky skunk, and you drive by people and they're like, oh, I want to hang out with that guy. I mean, it's like hard to be a criminal with a fucking Corolla full of weed. You know what I'm saying? Oh. So, well, shit, you know, I guess that's the point. That's the point of this podcast. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to talk about some of this information that isn't being talked about. And we're going to pair it with some of the news stories that you guys are seeing out there that you're talking about, getting excited about. And I think you should be excited, but I think, you know, we want you to think about this stuff. We want you to think that, like, you know, if you live in Colorado and you're a voter, you can be going to the government to help lower these taxes that I am telling you are destroying the industry. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be a bunch of corporate businesses that own all of the cannabis industry in Colorado. Let's just start there, all right? And they're not going to be growing any good weed. You know, they think they can just grow good weed. Everybody thinks they can just grow good weed. You know, as a matter of fact, like when people are looking for a job so they can be a cultivator, number one thing that they say, they grow the best weed. They have the proven method, right? Nobody else has the proven method. And it's just going to happen. You know, these like corporations are going to take over. They're going to find a guy like that. They're going to completely botch the crop. And then this thing's going to fall on its face. And so let's keep the little guys alive. Let's, you know, root for the underdog here. Let's keep the pot culture alive. You know, I think we're coming into this at a really interesting time politically.
Definitely.
So I feel like it's a great time to talk about it. You guys are interested, and we're here for it, you know, and we hope to keep coming at you and providing you with information just to, you know, we see something on the news, somebody reaches out to us about something going on in their state. We want to talk about it. You got an event coming up, we want to talk about it. We want to hear about it. We want to talk to you. And we're going to try to keep this coming at you as best we can. But yeah, you know, it's hard to stay motivated, hard to stay inspired.
That's what we need the community for.
We need you. We need you guys. And so, yeah, you know, Emerson, do you want to like talk about anything else before we like send these guys on their sweet little way?
Well, you know, looking just marijuana news, as Grady was saying, thinking that we would just like to hear different stories from the people. What's going on in your state? What's going on in your community? Figure out, you know, where those issues are and where there's common ground and solutions so that we can bring a voice to that, bring a magnifying glass to that. And so people can understand the different issues that are happening all across the United States and each state individually. So I would, I'm going to be on the lookout, but the more we can hear firsthand off the ground, the better.
Totally. And yeah, the whole intention of this podcast, right? The name, right? Break the Cypher. This is the BTC crew coming at you. Let's break the cypher. We were taught don't break the cypher. Past that. The cypher needs to be broken. The industry is not working the way that it should be. People are struggling that shouldn't be struggling. And we got to break the cypher and repack that shit. Pass it.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to say here. That's what we're trying to bring. We hope you guys keep listening. We tried to set up a few things. What did we set up so far?
Oh, we set up the socials.
We got the socials.
We got the YouTube.
We got the tube.
And we got the podcast up and rolling.
Boom. And we're working on a website. It's not up yet, but we do have breakthecypher.com, which I was like, man, this is insane. We got like the hat trick here. Like we got Break the Cypher on everything. Really blew me away. I think it's really interesting. And we want to stand up for the consumer being able to go buy good quality product, affordable pricing. And we want to stand up for the small business owners out there who, are tired of getting pushed around, are tired of, not being able to find a place in the world because it's just overrun by corporate money, And so anyways, we'll leave you with that. We're going to keep trying to run this out to you guys on a regular basis. And we hope you listen. If any of you are friends with Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, or you want to share this on their pages, you go right ahead. We're willing to interview them. I don't really know who I'm voting for. Do you?
No, I do not.
I don't even know if I want to vote. I would love it for either of these people to call and explain to me why I should vote for them. I'm like kind of sick of talking to their robots. You get those robot calls?
Oh, dude, it's been overwhelming. Bullshit. Overwhelming with the robocall.
It's overwhelming. I mean, I got one right here. It's like, shit. I mean, like, what do we got here? Kamala Harris here. I'm reaching out to ask you to make a $40 contribution. All right, Kamala, I'll give you $40. We would like an interview with you about the cannabis industry. Thank you all for listening. This has been Break the Cypher, and we out.
We out.